All right. Hopefully this time it'll actually work. Let's find out. Yep. Looks like we're good. All right. So, well, that was a mare. Anyone who watches this after the fact won't understand, but I had a real nightmare getting the stream working because I didn't realize that YouTubers completely changed their interface for this and like downgraded it massively. I mean, I knew that people were using the YouTube native streaming system a lot less than they were, back in the day, but I didn't realize that it was quite for this much, good of a reason, because, man, you can't, like, change any settings once it's set. Once you schedule a stream, it's just set that way, and you can't, like, change any of the input devices or anything. So once I realized that for some reason, my audio interface that I always use wasn't working. Normally I would just unplug it and switch to the webcam mic like I've done. But it was like, no, we're using the interface. It's like, I unplugged the interface. It's like, no, the interface. And I'm like, there was no way to change it. So, I had to make a new stream. That was literally the only way to fix it, was to make an entirely new stream. So, yeah. If I do stick around for any length of time and do another stream, I will definitely have to figure out how to use OBS, because, I've got OBS, I use it I only use it for things like testing my webcam and mic and stuff, which I apparently didn't do enough of this time. But I did test both of them, and they were working, but anyway. So yeah, it's been a long time. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about, but I figure I probably should leave it at least a little bit, because most people who turn up here will probably live won't be for a little while. So I'll probably talk about more light stuff for the first, I don't know, half hour or 45 minutes or something. See how that goes, and then if there's a decent number of people here, Streamlabs OBS, right? Okay, I'll look into that. Because I've got some life story stuff to talk about. I'm just looking down at my dog because it's mainly about her. Oh, she's got some gunk in her eye. Hold on. I have to fix it. Oh. Sorry about that. Yeah, there's been some drama in my life recently with regard to her, with regard to my dog Kara. I'll talk about that later on. Oh, nice, DSA. Yeah, I respect the DSA. They do some good stuff. Yeah, the audio is going to be shit, sorry. I had to unplug my actual proper audio interface with its actual mic and use the webcam mic. It's going to take me a bit of time to figure out why it's not working with YouTube. I think ultimately I'll just end up having to figure out how to use OBS properly, because it was working with that. So, yeah. Yeah. Yes, yeah, the election. It's actually a complete coincidence in timing-wise. I didn't plan to do this around the time of the election at all. Just worked out that way. I've been locked up, unable to use this computer in this room at all. Basically been completely isolated into my living room for reasons I'll talk about later. So I hadn't been able to do... I wanted to do this stream like 3 weeks ago, but I couldn't. About 2.5 weeks ago, something like that. Exact numbers don't matter, Dan. Yes, so this year's sucked, hasn't it? Holy crap. This year has been an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, I would say New Zealand's had a better year this year than last year, but we're one of the few. Yes, that's Moon Knight. Yeah. The bobble on that one's actually broken. The head's just sitting there. Well, I mean, as you know, unknown email, and lockdown in New Zealand wasn't such a big deal. It wasn't. That was the least of my worries this year. The bad stuff in my life happened since then. Yeah, the lockdown itself, I mean, it was a bummer, but it was only a month. So New Zealand had a I guess I should probably talk about that a bit later on too, since that's probably something I want more people to hear live in the stuff I should talk about at the start. Well, I could go through. I wasn't bragging. I mean, New Zealand. I was just saying that New Zealand had a horrible, horrible 2019, and I think by global standards, we're one of the only countries this year that, while we have had a terrible 2020 like everywhere else, it just doesn't stand up to being as bad as 2019 was. There was, in fact, one of the worst things about 2020 for New Zealand was something that affected the 2019 stuff, which was that early on in March, the government cancelled the memorial service on the anniversary of the terrorist attack. And yeah, that was rough. I mean, I get it. I was just going to say I would have done the same thing. I wouldn't have been in that position because I don't believe in that. But I can understand why they did that. And it probably was the right move. But yeah, that was rough. That was probably the way that it's hit this country the most, that one thing right at the start. Because people were planning that, that was a year in the making, that, and then, so that sucked. So what light stuff could I talk about for the first half hour or whatever? I've got I assembled a little lineup. I figure I've got so much Marvel crap now, because in 2019 I had a rough time. Totally different stuff than this year. Nothing to do with my dog. There's me stuff. Same reason I stopped doing stuff on YouTube. But yeah, I basically was in a real bad place, and the only thing that got me through was reading Marvel Comics, and so I got a soft spot for them now. It's made me annoyed at some of the movies that have come out around, I am a big fan of the last two Avengers movies. They're great, but Thanos, they just did Thanos wrong. That was not Thanos. That was like a fashy dipshit with a dumb plan that made no sense. Should I move it seems like the audio is quite quiet, I've just noticed. I don't really know how I can fix that because I don't want to get too close to the camera. So I guess I'll just have to deal with it. And use this stream as a learning opportunity for next time. I could even schedule the more serious stuff for another stream and do that with the proper mic and stuff. Maybe I should do that and use this one as more of a sort of chat and do the other one in a couple of hours or something. Just chat for a while for this one. I could do that. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely low fidelity. It's a piece of crap microphone. I'm kind of someone, Micah in the chat, asking me about right-wing violence in America after Trump. I'm pretty out of touch with what's going on in the States, to be honest. I only barely followed the massive insurrectionary stuff from this year in June and July and all that. There's other stuff going on for me. So yeah, So I'm not an authority. I wouldn't consider myself enough of a authority figure to talk about it. I think, for one thing, this is a general thing about the right, and especially the far right, that doesn't, I don't really need to have topical information to say this, is that, oh, I nudged the thing, sorry, is that the far right, once the leader's out of power, I mean, a big part of the reason why they're attached to him is that they thought that he was likely to get into power and that he was in power. So now that they're out of power, they're less appealing. So I think they'll likely either glob on to another figure after Trump, stick with Trump but in a less enthusiastic way, which is probably the most likely thing, because there's no other Trumpian figure that I know of, although, like I said, I am out of touch. I don't think Ben Shapiro's got that enough of a following. Yeah. I don't know if I'd say I'm back, Cardox Fabricanus. We'll see. I don't know. I mainly just wanted to sort of give an update on things and check in with people. Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking down there a lot because that's where Kara is. That's where my dog is. And she's not well. So. No, I'm not on Twitter. I quit Twitter in 2017, and I basically said then and there that I'm never going to go back unless they radically alter the way Twitter works. In terms of the lack of human oversight and the tolerance of Nazism and shit, I'm just like, nah, it's too toxic. It sucks because you get a lot of there's a lot of good. You feel slightly more out of the loop when you're not on Twitter. I have to be told things secondhand. Like in a Discord server or something, someone will be like, "Oh no, this person tweeted about that," blah blah blah, and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know." That happens a lot. So that I could solve that, but I don't think it's worth it. The trade-off. Tucker Carlson, yeah, he is fash, and he has a big following. I don't know. How old is he? They like them old. Yeah, the DM stuff. Honestly, though, for me, that was part of it because I had some toxic shit in DM. Not like, and I don't just mean because I had random DMs turned off, but like even with friends and people well, just the way that the whole format works, I found myself getting involved in like conversations I wouldn't now, just because with people that I otherwise shouldn't have. The internet makes you like that though. I'm not on Facebook anymore either, and that's why because. So I read a post one day where someone was like, I wish people would treat each other well on social media, more like they do in actual real life. Not say the kind of shit that people say to each other on the internet, and because you don't know how someone is on the other end of that. You don't know what state they're in, and what it might mean for them, what it might do to them. And I know myself, I've been in places in my life where a complete random has said something to me that they didn't know would just happen to be in the sort of spectrum of things that would affect me badly at that particular moment in time. And it's just like so unnecessary. Neither person wanted it, neither person intended for it. And if both people had access to the same level of information, that wouldn't have happened. And so I don't know, I started thinking that about times I might have done that to other people myself on Facebook and thinking like, yeah, that when I was in a bad mood, that I might have said something snarky to someone that I thought deserved it or whatever, but actually, I was overreacting and they might have been in a bad spot or something. And the whole concept of the format of interaction, I'm not saying it's like evil or something or just bad for society, but it's not for me. Yeah, I'm kind of like addicted to the drink, by the way. because I got a bulk deal on it for like a pretty large amount. And I'm just like, it's bottles as well. I normally would drink cans of things because I think carbonated drinks taste better from cans, but and it's also a more recyclable material, of course. But the thing I got was bottles, so I've just got like a lot of bottles of V. So I've basically become addicted to it. But once it's done, it's done. Hopefully, we'll see. Yeah, anti-intellectualism for sure. Yeah, and that's always been part of it. Um, that was part of it. I mean, even the intellectuals in the early Fash movement were anti-intellectual. So the ones who like created it. Showing up, I don't know. Yeah, I know. Well, 2020 be like that, you know. I probably should have done this a long time ago, months ago. But I just had a lot going on. Yeah, anti-intellectuals, as well as being a consistent through line throughout the development of the history of fascist thought, anti-intellectualism has also always been a big current in United States right-wing stuff before fascism existed. That I don't know if what you're specifically referring to there, Liam, but that Sargon response video I did does actually still exist on YouTube. There's a mirror of it. I've thought about downloading it and just uploading it to my channel and putting like mirror in the title or whatever. I probably should do that. If I was gonna come back to proper video production, I definitely would. Wait, are you saying Trump got banned from Twitter? That seriously? Did that happen? Oh no, you're saying Orange Man gone as in he lost the election, unrelated to the earlier thing you said about Twitter. I see. Sorry to get people excited. I have no idea why you're seeing this, Rachel, but YouTube's recommendation system is really all over the place, is all I can say. Kevin Logan has... I don't think he has basically anything anymore. He did have my Armored Skeptic video, but that's gone. Yeah, it's a real shame. I definitely shouldn't have deleted my first channel, but what can I say? It was a dark time. Right, so once he's out of office, he might get banned. Yeah. So definitely positive things are happening on Twitter. Well, I'll keep my eye on it then. Yeah. Well, anyway, I was going to talk about my figure. I wanted to keep this part light, and then I kept talking about like heavy shit on social media and stuff. Sorry, it's just the nature of the year, I suppose. But so we've got at the back we've got Lady Thor and Jewel, or Jessica Jones, as she's otherwise known. That's proper Thanos, comic book Thanos, the actual one, not that bullshit character from the movies. And Lady Death, his consort. The Lady Death figure. That is blurry as hell. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I singled her out as the one to pick out because she's kind of the most like difficult to see, I think, from the lineup, as they are. We got She-Hulk. That's Spider-Man in his Future Foundation outfit. And I got that because Future Foundation and the overall thing that it's from, the Hickmanverse, is what I was reading in 2019. I read a bunch of stuff of Marvel Comics in 2019, but I read the entire Hickmanverse and all its supporting and background material in sequence. I'm not in perfect sequence because I didn't wasn't able to order it all or obtain it all online or whatever in the right order, and I couldn't be bothered waiting the 2 months, I think it was, at one point to read it all perfectly in order. So there was a bit that was out of order, but for the most part, I read the whole thing in order, and it is fucking amazing. And it's one of the most brilliant pieces of narrative, I think, ever crafted by a human mind. But yeah, anyway, so I read that, and that's the Spider-Man outfit from that series, anyway, from that universe. Not universe, mini contained, interconnected narrative. And anyway, Moon Knight, and then that's Man-Thing. And Man-Thing, the Steve Gerber run on Man-Thing, classic Man-Thing, is an amazing comic. Let's see, how many people we got? 27. We could start talking about that, I suppose. Not quite. If you find some of my old videos somewhere on a drive, you should definitely let me know and put them somewhere where I can get them. Like upload them to YouTube, and I can then download them or something, I don't know. But yeah, that'd be cool. I've got a couple. The main one would be the Sargon response video. I was always proud of that one, the left-right paradigm is so passé. Yeah, it must be nice to live in a world where you can say stuff like that. Yeah. Unfortunately, for me, the far left is the only hope. Any way of DMing me? I mean, I am on Discord. Right. I wouldn't know how to do it. I tell you what, put a comment on this video afterwards, and we'll chat about it there. I don't have like a public server or anything. Well, you see, Rachel, when I say left-right, my understanding of what the left is that like actual left-wing. Like if you go back, see, and it was Andy, Captain Andy, the YouTuber and good friend of mine, who convinced me of this position being correct. I didn't used to hold this position, but basically that the left and anti-authoritarianism are the same thing. And that if you're authoritarian, you can't really be said to be actually left-wing in the proper sense of what the word is supposed to mean. And, it's because of historical examples of groups calling themselves that we associate those things with the left. But if you actually think about what that is and go not just right back to where these terms left and right came from, but to their actual history as they developed and all the important events, that things like the development of authoritarianism in the left sort of they make it that they're not. How do I phrase this properly? This is a really complex subject. I just sort of stumbled upon it randomly without preparation. That you can draw a through line from the development of these ideas, left and right, and from the people who were in the left camp when it first became a thing in the French Revolution. You can draw a through line from that all the way through to now of the people who are the left, right? And that is consistently anti-authoritarian. And there are offshoots from that of people who've called themselves that and have been affiliated with the left in various ways, but that's what they are. They're offshoots. They're not the left. The left is anti-authoritarian. The right is pro-authoritarian. That's just part of it. And the idea of anti-authoritarian right-wing is nonsensical and just as much an offshoot and an aberration as authoritarian leftism. And I think it's time that we sort of need to remind ourselves of that. That, it's just like socialism. There's a lot of people calling shit socialism that isn't really socialism. Well, exactly. Kelpsatoma. Sorry if I've mispronounced that. That left wing, what it means economically speaking, certainly, is to be anti-capitalist. In order to be on the left, you have to oppose capitalism. And what does the state bureaucracy of the commissars amount to, other than bureaucratic state capitalism, as Rocker described it? Yeah, I'm out of touch with people like Vaush and all of the left, the bread tube or whatever you want to call it, people. I just haven't been at a place where I've been able to be part of that, really. And honestly, the times where I've made comments that I've regretted, and not that I disagree with now or anything, but sorry, I should have shaved my monobrow before this. It's embarrassing. I don't really care. Otherwise, I wouldn't have pointed it out. But what was I saying? Yeah, my YouTube's notifications. I've got 2 channels, right? They're both inactive. But the other one, the notifications for that work fine. I get all of them as far as I can tell. But this one, it's just fucked. Like, it doesn't work. And I just don't get most of them. And I can go to videos I've commented on and see replies and upvotes and stuff, and I just don't get notified about any of it. It's very rare that I get notified. If I make a comment on a video that gets 100 likes, I'll hear about that. But anything much lower than that, I literally won't hear about it. It's bizarre. So anyway, I make these comments when I'm not in a great place on a YouTube channel I mostly agree with about some minor discrepancy in a video they made that is otherwise great. And then I'm like, that was petty and stupid, and I shouldn't have said that. And then I can't remember which video it was. I can't find it. So it's just out there now, which is not ideal. But if anyone sees anything like that, keep that in mind, that some people, me included, are not always doing great, and sometimes we say stuff that is petty and divisive or whatever, but it's not because that's how we are. It's just a bad time. But you see, the right isn't the most anti-authoritarian, though. Any anti-authoritarianism on the right is pretty much either something else, it's authoritarianism of a different sort being confused for anti-authoritarianism, or it's just straight up something completely unrelated that's being confused for anti-authoritarianism. Both things happen. Yeah, when it comes to left tube, bread tube, all that, I just basically don't consider myself part of it at all, and so I don't follow any of those people or hang out with any of them, really. I'm basically offline in terms of the social interaction I have these days. There's not a lot of online stuff. Not in the political world, I should say. I do fandom crap on the internet, but things I like, but not really political stuff. But this is, it's good to do this as every so often, and I might do it ongoing. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, Lorcan. Exactly. Oftentimes, the right will say they're small government, opposed to big government. But what that actually means is that the government isn't spending the money the way I want. That's all it means. Even oftentimes those people want a larger government with more power, but not always. Sometimes it just means they want the same size government, but with power distributed differently or used differently. Yeah, right. I get that vibe I guess there's one of the things I wanted to talk about in the stream. One of the many things. Hi, Adam. Is that there's a lot of people who I've fallen out with in the past who I'm sort of re-looking at, and not because I want to buddy up with them again. I'm kind of done with that. I'm talking about people like ContraPoints and stuff and not because I think I'm going to start watching her stream, her videos regularly and agree with her and stuff, but going back and like looking at our old interactions as much as I can and thinking about how things were and stuff and what happened along the way and thinking about it all, like now that you're not in that zone anymore. And like there's a stream of me and ContraPoints together with Michael Rowlands on a Michael Rowlands Mirror channel, and I watched that, and ContraPoints and I disagreed a few times, and I look back at that, and I think I was correct. Looking back, things have happened since then that have added weight to my arguments that might not have been amazing at the time that I made them necessarily. But we agreed on a lot, and we got on well, and nice person, and I think that stuff needs to matter. Does she still live in Baltimore? I don't want to talk. I'm not even on social media. I don't know how we would talk, but I'd be fine with some people that I used to hang out with, knowing that I've reevaluated my positions on my opposition to them as people. Or not as people, but as content creators, Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the Cold War thing, that's about the fact that the brand of authoritarianism always needs an enemy, There are forms of authoritarianism that don't exhibit that trait, but like it's the classic 1984, Perma War sort of setup that does echo, the United States, for example. It always needs to have a state enemy. I never thought Contra was a revisionist. I got angry with Contra for being a bit ableist. That was my issue. And if you know what's up with me, you know that ableism is the thing I struggle with in terms of separating the person from the thing. Like in most ways, I'm able to do that. I mean, I wouldn't do it with if someone who I was hanging out with on YouTube was being like racist or something, but things that are more tolerable than that. I think it's the ableism one is the one that I find it difficult to be objective about. I don't know. It's a lot of work making YouTube videos, and I might not have the time, but I might do more streams. And if I do, they'll be better than this one with my actual mic. I never said person is bad or person is good necessarily about anyone from the left tube community. I don't ever recall saying that I thought ContraPoints was a bad person, or that even like Peter Coffin or anything. I just thought that the content side of things that they were contributing to the discourse, the zeitgeist, whatever, was harmful in whatever way. But the reality is that even if that is true, whatever harm that ContraPoints does is outweighed by good, I believe. And that's kind of the realization I had to come to in terms of putting aside old stuff. Sean, I have a personality disorder, not a disability, not a physical disability, if that's the sort of thing you're meaning. So it's more the mental illness side of ableism I was talking about. My mother has a lot of mobility problems, though, and so I've got a bit of perspective on the physical disability side of things. Like I've noted a lot of that ableism of that character in society that I don't think I necessarily would have noticed if not for that in her situation. But and that has bothered me when I've seen that. But that's not necessarily what I'm talking about at the moment. Well, the hangout that I was talking about with ContraPoints is interesting because ContraPoints was clearly in the early stages of developing what has become her thing now, which is the sort of high style medium content, medium information sort of style video. They were their videos were not like that necessarily to begin with, but that has become more the case as she's become more successful because of it. So and you can see in the Hangout that she's formulating those ideas. By the way, I'm not going to link the Hangout that I'm talking about in the description. The reason is this is pre-transition for Contra, pre-realization of actual gender, and I think that if I put it in the description, people might misuse it. So I'm not going to do that. You can search for it if you really want. Like if I put it in the description, it's too easy a target for someone to just stumble across and misuse. You need to put some work in if you want to find it, is all I'll say. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, what's interesting in mental health, because it is invisible, it's easier to deal with in that way in some ways, because I can walk around in the streets and I don't get treated any differently, for the most part, unless I'm dysregulated or something. Bobcat Agrarian Sopcat. I've never heard of this. Queensland. Oh, that's interesting. Mm. Yeah. I hate crocodiles. Well, anyway, we could I could start talking a bit about some more consequential stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, so where should I start? Should I start with the recent stuff or start when I stop making videos? I'm sure people are interested in that. Because I was literally halfway through a video. I was working on. I mentioned this in live streams and stuff. That I was working on a video about the sort of the interconnectedness, the connections between the anarchist movement and the feminist movement, both historically, theoretically, like in terms of their goals and their rhetoric and stuff, and also just in the modern era in the world right now. And it was that part really that I stumbled on and got frustrated with, because I basically wrote the whole video and edited it, and then I realized there was a bunch missing from it that I needed to add, and that's always tricky. So I started writing, scripting that, and I wrote the script for it and everything, and I never got it working right, and compared to the amount of work that kind of video should have been, to the amount of actual hours I put into it, it just started getting ridiculous, and I started getting put off. And I stopped working on that one and basically let it die. And it's a shame because the stuff that is made is finished and is interesting, but I couldn't upload it to YouTube because there's just chunks out of it and it would be bizarre. And I'd get the same comment a bunch of times, just like, why is it so weird or whatever? Which is annoying. I can tell you, as a YouTuber, like, not that I'm a YouTuber anymore, but like when I was, and any other one will tell you that the same exact comment over and over again is like the worst thing. It's just mind numbing. It's like, oh, it's a slog. Like, I've got a video on this channel with 100,000 views. Not that that's like much comparatively, of course, and there's just the same basic comment on there, and the same thing happened on my most popular video on my other channel. there's the same comment about the remembrance of the Daleks over and over and over again. And that's because I just should have written in one sentence extra in the script. There'd just been one sentence more stuff in that script. I wouldn't have got that comment 150 times. So, so I had to abandon work on a video, which is tough, and that put me on the back foot in terms of continuing on YouTube anyway. And then from there, just stuff started happening in my life, and then bad things started happening, and then I basically just had to stop. I was in a rough spot about a year and a half ago. Or what is that? It was May 2019 anyway. That was when I was basically not able to do anything except, I pulled back from anything of consequence, basically, to the point where I was only engaging in like casual entertainment media of the most light and inconsequential type. And and it's hard to come back from that if you're in that for a while, because I was in that for about a year. Yeah, it's difficult to once you're willing to re-engage in politics again, you're re-engaging with it in a different way, basically. It's hard to go back from that to think of yourself as the sort of what you were when you were doing, well, in my case, what I was when I was like when I was making YouTube videos and where I was at, Because the thing is, I've never been the kind of person that wanted to monetize YouTube. I'm always wanted to do it for free because of the kind of stuff I talk about. I think if you're not talking about politics, it's not necessarily such an issue, but I worry about tying income to making political content on YouTube. Like, that seems dangerous to me in a bunch of ways, and so I never wanted to do that. So it was always making stuff for free, and when you make stuff for free, it's a lot of work. So the motivation is you've got a lot of enthusiasm for it, desire to do it, and willpower to stick each video thing through. And all three of those basically got destroyed around the same time for me. And then as I clawed each one of those things back, I got to the point where, it just felt weird. Like, what would I make a video even about? The one thing I had going was the Anarchist Book Club, so I am working on a thing for that. I'm working on a thing for the Dispossessed, but because of stuff that's come up in my life in the last few months, I haven't really been able to do much on that yet. I've got good ideas for the script. I know the angles along which I'm going to talk about the book. Now it's just come to the meat of actually going through most of the rest of the book and lining it and notating it, and then actually writing the stuff down for the script. It's kind of frustrating because, unlike with the Rocker one, I worked through the book fast and hadn't even really finished. I hadn't even done half the work on developing the ideas for what I was actually going to say about the book by the time I'd finished going through the book and notating it and highlighting everything and stuff. But this one's been the other way around. Like, chapter 1, I was already like, I know how I want to talk about this book. Because I've read it before, obviously. And I think, it was like, I know exactly what I want to say here, but I can't say it I can't start writing the script until I've gone through the whole book, because it's just not practical to do it that way around. It's a struggle. When I know that I'm going to make it eventually, though, because for me, making a YouTube video requires that, because I come from the film industry, I don't consider myself a member of the film industry anymore because I haven't worked in it in 5 years. I had a back injury in 2015 that put me out, and I could have gone back to work in 2018 or so. And I did do one job, but I don't know, I didn't really feel like I wasn't feeling it. So I didn't take I'd take any others, and I've just done other things and stuff. But I came from the film industry anyway, and so for me, like, part of making a YouTube video has always been about has always been about being able to visualize things in my head, and then being able to recreate those things on screen, because that's what filmmaking is all about. And yeah, I have got things in my head I want to put on screen for that video, and I want to say, and I can picture it. And it's like, so I want to make that a reality. It's a lot of work, though. It's going to be a similar length. It's actually a longer book than that one I did the 3-hour video about, the video series. So it might work out to be longer than the series about anarcho-syndicalism theory and practice. But it's certainly going to be, a lot of work. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get that one done. It's just when. As for anything else on this channel, I'm not so sure. But I do want to do streams, not like this one, but once I've figured out how to use that goddamn program properly. How long is this stream going to be? Let's see, where are we at? 45 minutes. Well, I mean, I could just cut this one short and get the proper mic going and then do another one. Or I could just continue this one through. If I can do the whole thing I want to talk about, 2 or 3 hours. But that is Monoe. Yes, that is Jitomi Monoe, the VOMS VTuber. I am wearing her pin because her badge is the best one, design-wise. I'm mainly a Pikami fan in terms of VOMS, but the Pikami badge is a bit badly designed. So, Kaiserreich, yeah, I could. That's the sort of thing I could do. Only thing is, if I did a Kaiserreich stream, I would do almost zero gameplay. I would have the map on screen, and I'd move around the map, and then I'd be like, oh, I want to talk about this, and oh, I want to talk about that, and the whole thing would be talking about it rather than actually playing it. If that sounds interesting, I don't know, maybe. I haven't played it in a long time as well, so I need to get back into it a bit outside of the stream before I do it. Well, I mean, I guess I should ask people. Yeah, either I could do a proper full stream of like 2 or 3 hours with this mic, low quality audio setup, or I could go away for 2 hours, come back with my proper setup and do it then in a separate stream. I'm happy for either. Yeah, I see. I'm terrible with those games in multiplayer though, because I have never played the multiplayer, and I'd be stressing out. We could do an offline stream, just playing it. I'd probably be able to do that, but I would feel absolutely out of my depth doing that and on a stream. Yeah, anarchists haven't done well in Russia so far. Oh, you're talking about Kaiserreich, right? Yeah, well, same thing there. Stay? I mean, yeah. All right, well, so, let's see. Putin might be about to step down from power. Is it exactly the same, though? Because don't both players have to agree to pause and unpause? And what about play speed? Is that also agreed on? Those are the 2 things that worry me. That's the only 2 things. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I don't play Kaiserreich because I'm good at it. That's like Hitman. That's why I play Hitman. Oh, right. Well, I mean, like I said, I guess that's one vote all then for the two kinds of ways I could approach this. Yeah. Yeah, but adjustable on the fly in a way that both people agree to, right? Right, yeah. Well, one of the problems is I can't hear how bad the audio quality is until it's archived. So, like, because I never tested the mic in this webcam, because why would I? Um, but so, like, I don't know if I'm okay with it being this quality as well. Like, it's oh right, yeah. Well, that's very nice to hear, Parley Noon. Yeah, if both people playing it were in audio communication with each other, it would be cool. I think that would work well. I definitely wouldn't do it where it's just like where it's not that, where you don't have that. That would be insane. If you're trying to be on the same side, or not even just same side, but not at war with each other, you wouldn't want to necessarily be in communication when if you're at war with someone. But well, I think all things considered, I probably would prefer to do the proper thing I wanted to do today with my actual audio setup. And I'll change the camera so it's not able to be bumped around so easily like it has been in this stream as well. Fix that. Um, yeah, and do the actual more meaningful one either later today or a different day. Yeah, I think I'd probably rather do it that way. It's been a bit of a shambles, but that's what it's like. It's been too long. I didn't realize how much of a downgrade YouTube's native streaming system has had. Like I knew the result of it. I knew that people weren't using it anymore. I probably should have put two and two together and just not used it. But yeah, yeah. Maybe I'll switch them around as well. Put some new ones up there. All right. Yeah, I'll call it that. So it'll either be in a couple of hours or it'll be. Well, the thing I wanted to do it in the weekend so that the people around, but I'm not actually too bothered. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, it'll either be in a couple of hours or if I know it gets quite late in Europe if I leave it too long. But so if it's in a couple of hours, I will. But if it takes me longer than that to figure things out, I'll leave it till tomorrow or a different day. Tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow. Um, yeah. So yeah, I will either see you people in another couple of hours or tomorrow. SRG, did you just get here? That's unfortunate. I was wondering where you were because I saw you in the failed attempt at the first stream, so I figured you'd turn up, but you must have gotten distracted or something came up. But yeah, I was just saying, SRG, that I'll be back on in a couple of hours or back on tomorrow at a similar time. All right, catch you all later.